local level. In the case of Berlin, this was going on until the 1910, 1920. Why? The city of Berlin, which is about 10 kilometers away from here, was expanding, and the neighboring cities all mixed up into one big conurbation, one big urban area. So finally we said we cannot go on like this. We have water problems, we have recreation problems, open green spaces, where to locate industry, we have air pollution. We must have one unified approach. So in 1920, all these different urban communities were united into one city called Greater Berlin. And within this Greater Berlin, it had a population of 4.5 million, and the area is something like Hong Kong, about 900 square kilometers, or double of Singapore. And after the war, the population went down, because during the war there was so much bombing, people could no longer stay here, there was no food supply, so people were moving out. And after the war, the city was divided, as you know, so there was not much development, in contrast to Frankfurt or Cologne, Hamburg, Munich. All these cities were booming and growing fast. But Berlin there was one tendency which we also have in West Germany. We thought we cannot keep so many local governments, so many independent local communities, because this is too expensive. Administration costs are too high. So there was the tendency of putting communities together. If you go to West Germany today, any city, the city has a large rural area as well, which is administered by the local center. In the past, you had villages and you had the small city. In the case of Berlin, this also happened. Berlin was traditionally divided into local districts, and these districts had a population 100,000 to maybe 200,000. And in each district you had a local government, and you had sometimes also organizations on the lower level. But then in the 70s, and particularly in the 80s, the government thought we are wasting too much money for administration. We can save money. We put our administration together into one civil center, and the district becomes bigger, and we don't need any administration on the lower level. We have now computers, and we can provide better services to the people when we concentrate. So in the case of Charlottenburg, this is the district we are now in. It has now, it's a big district combined with another one called Wilmersdorf, and the total population is something like 280.
No, 300,000.
More than 300,000. Sanchedowan, Remco. This is the Guanli Chico. Below, there's no more. So after some years, we realized this is no good. The people feel isolated. They say, where's our government? Government is far away, and I have to take the bus or the underground to get a prolongation of my passport, or to have some health documents. Every Guanli became very complicated, and the people had the feeling politics is far away. Nobody is looking after us. Nobody is looking after our small problems like garbage or crime or drugs or things like this. So there was a feeling of frustration and the feeling of we should have a change. So in the case of Charlottenburg, partly the church organizations were capable of looking after neighborhoods, yeah? Or sports groups, football, soccer playing groups, or tennis, or so. They were also looking after small things, but this was not sufficient. Especially we had two problems which were gaining importance. One is Lao Nianhua. People are getting older. And especially in a city like Berlin, where many qualified young people, they were moving to West Germany. And behind, we had old people, people getting older. And the second problem is, because there was many open space, we had residential capacities available, migrants moved in. You know, we have, the first migrants came to West Germany in 1950s from Italy. Then, after Italy, the next group came from Spain and Portugal. Then the next group came from Yugoslavia, and then from Turkey, and from Poland. So, and these people moved into the empty houses, and then you had the old people and the migrant people close together, and the old people, they don't understand, they don't speak the language, there were some uneasy feelings. So we have to look after this problem. So there were some initiatives from social groups or social workers. They said, we have to really do something. And that's where she came in. In 2003, she said, okay, we will set up here a quarter and we will try to mobilize people or to establish contacts between the people so they do not feel so isolated. And now, as you know, in a big city, it's a big city and people are moving around. Here's the underground, below there is a Tröntier, is close by. We have good communications. So in the big city you are not bound to a local place. Who is bound to the local place? The old people, the children, and mothers with children. But the Ladung, the people who are working, they are moving where they have to work. So they are not so much, they do not identify themselves so much with the local place. So you have to find opportunities for meeting for the old people, for the young people, and for people with children, and for the youth. And well, she came in and she said, hi, why don't we identify this area as one particular area? Why did she think of this? Because it is an island. You see here this blue mark is a line of rivers. Here is the Spree River, and this is an artificial, no, it is also the Spree River, and this is an artificial channel, and here is also an artificial channel. This square is clearly identified. It has a clear boundary by water. And the minimal distance may be about 20, 30, 40 meters. So you can go there by boat. It's quite nice. And people have the feeling, oh yeah, I live on an island. Or you can, at least you can support such a feeling. And even more because, as you have perhaps already seen, some parts along these rivers and canals are green. So you can use them for recreation. Not perfectly yet, but you can improve it. It's a potential. And right now, you have been here close to the castle of the king. You saw the castle from the bus, yeah? Did you? Yeah. Okay. So here is the castle and the park behind the castle, which is quite beautiful and very, from the point of view of history of architecture, it's a very precious monument, which was rebuilt after the war. It was also destroyed. So actually, this square, this island, has a very prominent location. It's quite close to a very famous park. And this is the potential. On the other hand, this area traditionally was a backward area. There was nothing important going on here. You have, this was a storage ground for coal. Yeah? The coal was brought by boat and it was deposited here to be distributed to the households. Because until the 50s, everybody in Berlin was heating with coal. In winter, bad air quality. So you have a deposition for coal, you have factories here, and there were some green gardens for small household green gardens. There are some residential areas, and here was a huge power plant, the electrical power plant for the city of Charlottenburg. So it's a mixed use, and there was not a strong feeling of identity island. But they had this idea. And how did they start? They make a festival in summertime, invite people to come. and they ask people, bring your local food, because the migrants, every migrant community has its own food. You have Turkish food, you have Arab food, Vietnamese food, or from all kinds of places. Italian food, of course, and Greek food. So in the summertime they make a festival, people bring their food, and then they can enjoy the open air, and at least they meet once in a while. And then in 2013, the federal government initiated a program. We have realized on the national level, we have to do something for the big cities. There is too much vacuum, there is empty, there is no, politics is not present at the local level. So we have to do something. And the national government set up a scheme, a program, inviting competition. And how many cities in the first 30?
168.
168 initiatives came from all over Germany. Medium-sized cities, big cities. 160 municipalities said, okay, we have our brilliant ideas, we want to participate. And then they have a selection committee, as you know, and afterwards 40?
52.
From the 160, 52 were invited to participate in the first round. And this lasted for 2 years, and then after they get some money for administration, personnel, and after 2 years there is an evaluation. They have to write a report, Baukauf, and then maybe you get into the next stage. And you came into the next stage, in the second stage. And how many were then left? 20 were left for the second stage. And after 2 years, they were working very hard. They set up a lot of local groups here. They cooperate with the schools. There are 2 schools, the primary school and the secondary school. And the teachers, of course, they know very well the social situation, because they have the children, the pupils. For instance, in the primary school here, 400 students, and from the 400 students, they come from 60 different nationalities. 60 different nationalities. Yeah? And the total migrant population is 40% from the total population. Counting 3 generations. Yeah? That means the first generation has arrived in the late 70s, and until today we can say the proportion is about 40%. So, as you know, a migrant family moving in, they are not looking after the others. They have to look after their own business. They want to get started. They need a flat, they need good school facilities for the children, language skills. So they are not open enough for social activities. So their support was very important. How can we integrate these people with a migrant background? And with the support of the schools, the teachers, and with the support of even the local government, they came into the second round, and of course in the end they also applied for the last round. But then they failed. How many in the last round?
Only 6.
6 were left over. But it is understandable. We have also to give some encouragement to people outside of Berlin. We cannot say this is Berlin. Yeah, because they get it because it's in Berlin. No, we need to support also the other smaller cities. So they failed, but never mind, they are going on. And they have set up a great number of groups working on different topics. They call themselves the Sustainable Mierendorf Island. This is the island. The name of Mierendorf is the name of a street. Yeah, Mierendorf. Here. Sustainable Mierendorf Island. Mierendorf is the name of an anti-fascist fighter who was killed, social democrat.
But it's a place.
Yeah, and this square where we just took the photograph is named Mierendorf Square. Therefore, they call the island Mierendorf Island. And the important thing is they call it sustainable Mierendorf Island. We want to show that within the next 15 years or 10 years, we can transform the social system and the economic system and the everyday living conditions on this island. Now, how to start? People were not thinking of climate change 10 years ago or 6 years ago. Only in the universities they were thinking about this, but local people, they have other problems. The problem of garbage or the problem of junkies. You know junkies? People taking drugs. Yeah? And they use all kind of dirty, so there is the possibility of infection. Yeah? And there are what we call alkies, alcoholics. You also have this, yeah? So this part went down in quality. The families did not dare to go there with the children. They were afraid because it's not a nice environment. So the first thing they did is collect the parents and say, we will clean up this square. And they meet on the Saturday, on the weekend, and together with the children, they clean all the stuff, put into baskets and clean it. So there is suddenly there is a spirit. We can we can do something, even without government support. And then they have the festival, and then other problems came up, like traffic. There is a big road close by to the airport, always jammed with traffic, noise, bad air. So people said, we have a traffic problem. And they started of thinking, how can we reduce traffic intensity? Closing streets. You can go there by car, you can even park, but it is not so welcome. You must create a feeling, if you have come with a car, you are not welcome. Yeah, you can come in, but everybody should learn, car is not of primary importance. So they had a traffic committee. They have a committee for green open spaces. For instance, you talked about Eatable City. Yeah, and they did this. Yeah, here. Upcycling, not downcycling. And make some plant food, plant vegetables on close to the road. And open spaces should also be used for planting, and especially in school, the schoolyards could be used for this. So they mobilize the children, and via the children they mobilize the parents. And they have their own internet page, they have a digital newspaper, which can be read by everybody. Yeah, things like this. And you see, yeah, so there were two principles they were looking after. The first principle is we should aim at a more resilient city. Resilient we have been talking about before. And the other term, which is important, is how can we realize the principle of subsidiarity? Subsidiarity. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Fuju. Yeah. Do you know what is meaning? It means actually every social unit should solve the problems which it can solve by itself. For instance, if in a family you have some problems, you don't need to go to the social worker. Perhaps you can solve it in the family. And only if the problem is too big, you have a handicapped child or old parents too sick, you need support from outside, you go to the higher level. And this principle from the family to the neighborhood and to the district, finally to a municipality. So here we want to practice the principle of subsidiarity. But in order to do this, we have to get some a positive support from the higher level. Right now in Berlin, we have the municipality and we have the district. But a district with, as she said, 340,000 inhabitants is too big. What are the units below? We take this as one social unit. How many people are living here? 14,000. 16,000. 16,000. In Taipei, I don't know, would it be a xiaoqu or a 街道委员会 or a 社区? Okay. Yeah. And do you have your own 委员会? You have. Okay. So here in Berlin, this was abolished. Because they say everybody can look in the internet and find everything. But it's not true. Internet is okay, but you need also face-to-face relations. So we come back to reorganize this lower level. And this is one one example. For the 14,000 people, we have now her. She gets half a job, and she has another social worker, another half a job. That's all, isn't it?
Yes.
More or less. And they get some money for paper and for copying and small things. And but they have a partner on the district level, what we call a quarter management. It's a lady, a town planner by profession, and she is the link between the neighborhood and the district level. And now, after they have been so successful to get into the second round, the local government said, oh yeah, they are good, we should give them some support. And they made many proposals, like we want really to have a true going green bicycle road along the canal. It's 6 kilometers altogether. It's ideal for children, yeah, to travel here, to make sports without being disturbed by car traffic. So actually, it is not even a question of land property. The land property question is mainly soil. It's open, but you need some constructional work like pavement or security for traffic lights, yeah? And things like this. So here we have now the next bottleneck. The good ideas are there. Many creative ideas came from these different committees. Health committee, greening committee, traffic committee, and communications committee. And they make proposals for higher up. But then higher up level said, oh yeah, we can do it. But there is no personnel. Why? Over the last 20 years, we had the feeling our public sector is too big. They consume too much money. So we stopped hiring young people. And the public sector became a sector of old public servants, getting older and older, retire, and no young people move in. So we have a problem of implementation. The money would be there, the ideas are there, but how to implement it? You need public servants, civil servants, who are able to manage the individual projects. So it's only now that gradually we realize we have to improve our public sector. We have to expand it a little bit. But now the situation is difficult because jobs are, there is a great demand for labor, and it is very hard to find qualified labor now in this period of the economy. So they are fighting and they are urging the higher level, you please do something, otherwise people get frustrated. But then they say, yeah, we want to, but still it moves on slowly, and they always have to give pressure. Yeah. So we feel it is like a wagon, but the wheels are not round, the wheels are cylinder. That means it's moving slowly. But still, many things are moving, especially in the minds of the people. For instance, garbage. Have you seen Starbucks coffee?
Yes.
And you always get this cardboard cup. And if you Coca-Cola or McDonald's, they always give you cardboard things. So they said, people here said, no, stop this rubbish. And they invite people to use a cup like this whenever they get a drink, and then they can clean it afterwards. Wrong?